Hi there, Subi here. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Into the Movieverse. Today we'll be discussing the highly anticipated The Batman, brought to you by director Matt Reeves, starring Robert Pattinson as Batman, Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, and Paul Dano as the Riddler. In this film, we'll be seeing Batman coming up to his second year as the Dark Knight, as we see him more established but still quite relatively new and inexperienced compared to the Batman we're all familiar with. As if taken straight out of the comic books, we're going to see a more investigative / deductive story for the world's greatest detective. Filmed like a detective noir / thriller type movie, we'll see Batman go up against the Riddler, teamed up with Jim Gordon, played by Jeffrey Wright, as they try to uncover the truth of the Gotham elites and the underworld as they try to stop the Riddler's killing spree. So this review will be quite divisive, just hazarding a guess from the little things I know. So I think it's going to be a really good discussion. Lots of great points will be made and opinions may change. So yeah, let's see. Fair bit of warning, it will be quite spoilery. So if you have not seen the movie, don't watch it yet until you have. So yeah, without further ado, sit back, relax, and take a deep dive into the Movieverse. Cool. All right, so The Batman. First thoughts. What we got?
Okay. All right. Well,
I'm scared.
Ruben's scared. Yeah. I just want to say first and foremost, like I think this movie is like really cool, very stylish. It just has that atmosphere that really, puts you in Gotham. Like you feel like you're watching a gritty, realistic to a point, but yeah, a very on point with the lore, the whole Batman lore, what you expect. You get that with the whole, the characters, the mood, certain set pieces and the way certain things transpire. So yeah, I mean, I was having a good time. I don't know about you guys. Were you guys feeling it? Did it live up to your expectations coming in?
My expectations were quite low, so it did surpass them. I understand exactly what you meant in terms of like the atmosphere and the environment. It was very dark and gritty in terms of trying to capture that year one Batman vibe, Dark Knight, the detective kind of vibe was going for, in terms of the set and how the acting was. Yeah, you did really feel like you were in Gotham, and I think it did start fairly well in that respect.
Yeah, I think it done a very good job at portraying a version of the character which we haven't seen on screen yet, a younger version of the character. And also what I quite liked of the portrayal was that we saw a lot more of Batman than Bruce Wayne on screen. And this really kind of foreshadows when the character gets to the point where he starts to realize, or whether the viewer starts to realize, that actually Bruce Wayne is the mask and Batman is his real persona. So I feel like it's done a really good job at showing that side of the character and how it leads on to him being the person he will become.
One thing I can definitely say is definitely a Batman movie in that sense.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne is minimal, and you don't get a sense of him. But yes, same with Pete and Law. Definitely feeling the environment of Gotham. It's a hellhole. It's violence, crime, and you see that from the start, especially with Batman's entrance, which was shocking to say the least.
I'm glad to hear this, guys, because yeah, I agree. I absolutely loved the way Gotham was created in this, because what a lot of people kind of forget is that Gotham is its own kind of character in the Batman world.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
they just I think it's the darkest Gotham we've seen. It truly shows what a messed up place Gotham is supposed to be, and how Batman has to take. Because with normal cities and stuff, you don't need to go to that kind of place where you need to turn into the Batman to kind of do it. So it really established how messed up Gotham is, that he had to take it into his own hands and become the Batman. And the way they established that at the beginning, I thought was really beautiful. The fact that the way they turned the Batman calling, he mentioned that it wasn't a calling, it was a warning. And then every shadow that the thugs would look at, they'd think he's there. I mean, that was just such a beautiful way to
that was sick.
Yeah.
I think the intro, how they started that film, was just spectacular, because like the intro, it was a good like a minute, 2 minutes long, maybe even slightly longer, of literally just like narrative talking about the city, obviously the character Batman, so Bruce Wayne talking about himself in the sign, and that just fully, from the beginning, I was fully immersed in Gotham. So yeah, I agree, Sue. I thought beautiful. I don't think they could have done any better with starting the movie that way.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I'm leaving, bruv. I'm leaving. I'm gone.
I want to hear anything else.
What are you saying?
This isn't a critique of this movie per se, but comic book movies as a whole have a lot of stupid shit in them. Like, in terms of, if you actually think about it logically, it just doesn't make sense. And this intro was part of that, in terms of, it looked great, and it was a great way to introduce him. Think about it for 2 seconds, just like, he's just waiting at a random train station in case some gang members happen to get off that stop at that time to rob some poor guy who just happened to walk off. I mean, how long was he at that station?
Well, Lawrence,
a lot of comic book movies do this, and it's just like they put it in the movie.
Subi's gonna get you. Go on, Subi.
Yeah, because I want to kind of counter the argument is that we don't know where he actually was. Because what we know from Batman is he usually finds crime from up top, and then he kind of jumps down. So I think they didn't want to show that bit because they wanted his first appearance to be him walking out of the shadows. So they couldn't show the bit of him jumping down to save him. But I think he saw from up above, came down, and just made his entrance rather than. I don't think he was waiting in the shadows that long for something to happen.
And also, wait, just to add, the fact that they've done it that way as well. It doesn't really completely like negate your point, but it's the fact as well that crime is meant to be rampant everywhere in Gotham. They were rarely pushing that point, so it's not a matter of fact if he just waits in one place and just says, "Oh, is something going to happen or isn't it?" It's like, no. Wherever I am, chances are, if it's nighttime, something is going to be happening in my vicinity somewhere. And like Subi said, it's for him to be looking down and looking where he needs to go. But yeah, cool.
Yeah, and you're forgetting like one vital piece of information. He wasn't in the shadows. He is the shadows. So he's everywhere, man. He's just lurking. He's lurking just everywhere.
Talking about his entrance.
Oh my dude.
As much as I don't believe he just happened to pass by, I did like his entrance because the first thing you hear from it is his footsteps. But that also brings an inconsistency because he's also known as a stealthy character. So if you could hear him coming.
Well, to be fair, it's not in this movie. He definitely ain't a stealthy character in this movie.
Yeah. You say that. There were times.
Year 2 Batman. He's still quite inexperienced.
He's young. He's finding his way.
You say that, but there's times you can hear his footsteps, and there's times where he's with Catwoman and he just disappears.
I agree. Cameron,
I'm a bit inconsistent with that.
Cameron, I'm not sure if that was on purpose to show that obviously Bruce Wayne or Batman, I'm not sure if they've done that to show that obviously he's not experienced enough to be consistent. But for example, there were times where like he was talking using the Batman voice and other times when he just wasn't. And I was like, what if someone recognizes your voice, bruv? You're meant to be a Batman character here. So I did get inconsistencies on and off like that at the film, and I'm not sure if that was intentional or not.
That one I don't mind so much because if you remember, Bruce Wayne has been recluse. No one's really seen him. As in, when he went to the funeral, they were shocked that he turned up because he doesn't come out.
So here's the thing about the footsteps is I think it's a choice that Batman makes himself because he likes to rely on putting fear into their hearts before fucking them over. So I think that's the reason why he added the footsteps before, because
so he tiptoes sometimes.
I just think that was a choice for him to come out. He does that quite a bit because he did that during certain points throughout the film he does do that quite frequently to kind of show fear.
Okay.
Yeah,
so since we're getting into the meaty stuff now, we might as well get this out of the way very. Okay. I thought Batman was a DC hero, but apparently he popped into the MCU and picked up vibranium because this man got with bullets constantly,
literally
walking through these.
Mate,
explain that, subs.
Point blank. He's taking point blank shotgun shells as well. Like he's just eating them. He's just eating them, man.
Man took a C4 explosion to the face.
Oh, my days.
To me.
There's some things I cannot explain, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
He's coming.
Magic.
He was gliding off the roof at stupid speeds, hits a bridge, hits a bus, hits the floor, and walks it off.
I mean, I was thinking at one point, obviously, like obviously flying. Obviously, there are times where Batman has used like his cape to deflect bullets, but usually you actually see him manage to like avoid the line of fire. But yeah, in this movie, he was actually just walking through bullets, making no effort not to get shot. So.
Towards the end, there's a scene where you see his helmet with a bullet dent in it.
Yeah.
Listen, if you got money, you can make what you want, bruv. You know what I mean? You can.
Yeah.
Take
and you know, it could have easily been avoided, because this is like one of my issues with the movie. It could have easily been avoided if they just gave some explanation as to why he's able to take so much damage, would take so much much impact from like bullets. Like if they explain that he had some, you know, sort of army grade, military grade, apparel that he was wearing underneath,
I don't
that
care
could
what kind
have
of army
helped.
grade he's got. He hit the bridge head first.
Was Christian Bale's costume bulletproof? I can't remember.
No, it was.
No.
Was it not? But it was meant to be like cutting edge technology, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, he did, but basically it was like it couldn't take like a stretch. Like it was bulletproof to a point, but in the first movie I think it was, but he couldn't turn his neck because the joints were quite solid.
Yeah.
And in the second movie he got one where he could, but then there was weaknesses around her armor.
Yeah.
It was stab proof, but it wasn't bulletproof, I don't think.
So let's remember.
They went into a lot more explanation on that, and that's why I think this movie's main problem is Dark Knight. Is that the Dark Knight did a very good job explaining all this, whereas this movie it tries to be realistic because you can see like in the technology it has and all that, but then you have this glaring suit that he's wearing, and to be fair, I also appreciate it in a sense because one of the silliest things about Batman is that he goes around fighting and he never gets shot. Ever. So I did appreciate that these five people can actually hit the target. It just didn't matter. Because usually in a Batman movie, like I don't care how good a ninja, you're gonna get shot at some point. You keep fighting people that shoot at you. Like,
would it have made it more realistic if they showed a health meter at the top of the screen? you just show him like regenerating health as the.
I would appreciate it if he even went. After a
or like the scenes when he takes him a suit. If you saw bruises or something. I mean? But remember, this was like a 3-hour movie, man. And I think they really wanted. I think they probably made the executive decision to avoid regurgitating stuff which other Batman movies have done already. So, for example, the scene that is always rinsed of like his mother's cold neck was dropping after his parents get shot. I think they made a conscious effort to just not show that on screen. And I think again with the suit, they probably made an effort because the Christian Bale movies were good. They made an effort not to show, how did I make my costume? How did I come by it?
Well, to be fair, I agree with the origin story. I'm glad that they didn't include that again. Don't need his mum and dad get shot in front of the opera again. But the suit, I think you have to explain that because that is some next level thing. It's insane how good it was. I mean, the fact that.
he actually, I mean,
C4 blew up in his face. He didn't even have a bad mark.
That wasn't fun. I think it's not something we should focus on too much, to be honest.
He was looking at him right in his face.
Oh my days. That whole scene with the C4 as well.
One thing I will say about his suit, I quite like the use of the adrenaline he had in his suit towards the end. I thought that was pretty cool to show that obviously he does rely on other things to win sometimes. He doesn't have superpowers. He can get knocked out, he can be injured, and he did need that extra push towards the end of the film. So I think maybe if there were more instances, not necessarily of him using that, but more instances of him showing his vulnerabilities, maybe that would have made the experience better for you, Law, rather than him just being invulnerable throughout the whole film.
He felt a little bit too much like Superman.
This is it, man. He thought he was Superman. Because he has...
The whole point of the whole selling point of Batman is the fact that he's just a normal person.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
He's not superhuman, and that is one of the things that like that's meant to be relatable. But if he's tanking bullets and shit, like, and an explosion kind of removes that. Like we can, like obviously with every superhero movie, spend some. So I can ignore the fact that his utility tiny, but you can pull out all this stuff out of it. I'm fine with to ignore all of that. But yeah, but when you're like literally getting like fatal injuries, well, what should be fatal injuries, and just walking them, it gets a bit. It suspends. Even I can't suspend.
I think that's the thing with Batman is that his superpower is just having writers help him out.
Yeah,
so
that plot armor. That's all you need to know, man. That's all you need to know, man. But yeah.
What did you guys think about? I was going to quickly say, like, what did you guys? I know we spoke to it. What did you guys think about the actual costume? Like the costume, like, you guys think it was quite unique and cool?
I really like the costume. Yeah, really good design.
I actually felt it looked a little bit cheap. Like the lighting, the way it was lit, it did look good. But when there's certain times you see it, like when he's in the police station,
it looks like a Halloween costume.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. It didn't really hold up.
Because I think it's mainly the mask bit that
probably
tiny bit.
Yeah, I mean, I like that they put the eye makeup. That was kind of realistic. That made it more realistic. Obviously, you know, that's what every single Batman has to wear eye makeup. So they actually made it part of Bruce Wayne. But yeah, just the costume just didn't scream, oh, this is amazing, this is incredible. But the way it was lit, the way it was directed, obviously the Matt Reeves, he has a knack, or whoever the cinematographer was, he has a knack for making it look good. But the actual integrity of the costume, I don't think was the best, in my opinion.
It was Greg Fraser.
Oh, is it? Okay.
And he done Dune. And when I saw that he done Dune, I was like, yeah, this guy knows what he's doing.
He knows the stuff, man. He knows how to make it look good.
An olive branch to subs in this movie. I would like to say something that I think is better than the original trilogy, and that showing that Batman does actually care about people, like your everyday man. Because usually when you're fighting, you're seeing Batman, he's just fighting one of the main villains, even the city as a whole. But in this movie, you actually see him actually helping people out of the flood, actually staying there to help. Because usually superheroes, they just do like the different part, and then like the cleanup, they just police and firemen. But he stayed there to make sure everyone got airlifted out, and I thought that was a very good touch at the end to show
that's he the is. Thing. That's
unique,
correct, because that's what he learned throughout the film. At first, obviously, he thought he was supposed to be vengeance, and then the film taught him that he had to be hope. And like you said, that's what it showed him actually helping people and people actually wanting help from him. So
unique spin on the character. It was pretty cool. And what about just really briefly from what we did see of Bruce Wayne, kind of just being like, you know, the broody kind of dude. Like, did you guys quite like what you saw of that younger?
He felt like an emo kind of teenager. Like he felt like almost like Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man 3. Yeah, like, this is like the Batman. This is like the his like emo phase, which it works because Batman. He's kind of like sulky, miserable anyway. But I guess this is like that. Robert Pattinson's.
Yeah, but it was sulky, miserable, but this seemed like teenage.
Teenage
sulky.
He did say there was no
Bruce Wayne charisma. There was no Bruce Wayne charisma.
Watching this movie, one reason I say is like because I didn't get a sense of Bruce Wayne. I didn't know who Bruce Wayne was. He's just this guy who's got money who happens to be Batman.
Yeah, he was
Batman. There's no character behind it.
That's Bruce Wayne though. He is Batman.
He was Batman
that he needs to make a Bruce Wayne character.
Yes.
There's no real sense of character behind Bruce Wayne. It's just bland.
He's the master.
Like I said, it's year 2 Batman, so he hasn't figured out. I think, and like you mentioned as well, he's really reclusive, so he hasn't had the need to really create a different persona for Bruce Wayne. So I think if there is a sequel, that's when he's going to start. And as he comes out into the world more, that's when.
And I think that's part of the problem with skipping the origin, which I did agree with, but it kind of means that we don't really understand why he's like obviously your parents died when you were 10. Yeah, we get it. But you're 30 now. Why? Like, what was his upbringing like that shaped him into this sort of individual between the parents' death and him being Batman? Like, what was that? Because and it would have been interesting to get a bit more information, but this movie was too damn long. in some.
Yeah, it was long enough already. It was long enough. It was long enough.
I think it relies on a lot of people already knowing kind of the Batman lore and stuff. And also another thing they did is that they actually released a prequel book to this. There's actually a book that serves as a novel that serves as what happened before. So there's a lot of good details in that. It's kind of weird that you have to kind of rely on that to kind of for the movie to understand a little bit. But it's nice that they made a little note for it. So I suggest everyone check that out. I haven't checked that out yet either, but
check it out. Check it out.
That's homework for you, all you guys.
There might be a whole chapter on his suit for you.
His Wakanda trip, bro. Yeah, he went to Wakanda and picked up some.
We've spoken about a lot of Batman, but what do you think of like the other characters, like Catwoman?
I thought she was really good. Like she was, very. She was very like seductive, I guess. And they made her a bit more sympathetic because obviously she had like a noble cause in this movie. She was trying to find her friend, and even though she didn't have the most, even though she used sort of devious ways to kind of go about it, at the end of the day, you still found that she was working with Batman. I think it's the first movie that shows them proper working together. Instead of like being at odds or being like Batman's nemesis, they were actually just throughout the movie they were working together. But yeah, I mean, I thought the other characters were decent. On the subject of characters, I don't know if you guys agree with me, but I think like I wouldn't call them characters so much as chess pieces, because it's like everybody's like sort of it's all intertwined. The way the story works, all intertwined. The biggest character in this movie, or the biggest personality, is actually just Gotham, like as a city, because you're not really getting to know any one character, like in terms of like their backstory, what drives them. It's really Gotham who is the personality of this movie. I feel like that was the intention of Matt Reeves when he made this movie, but I don't know if you guys agree or.
I guess just in the sense that Gotham's like the parent, isn't it? Gotham is the one thing that shapes and drives all the characters, you know what I mean? And I guess, you call them chess pieces, but yeah, it's really Gotham as a city which drives the plot start to finish. That's what you're kind of getting at.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what I was saying. Yeah, exactly. And I think
on the Catwoman thing.
Yeah.
No,
go on. No,
I was going to say on the Catwoman thing. I think this portrayal of Catwoman, I think, is more accurate to the comics in terms of she's far more of an underdog here. She's not some expert cat burglar type. She's really up against it. She's just trying to make it in this, using the skills that she can, and that forces her to do things that she may otherwise not want to do, like using her seduction or using lies or breaking in, entering just to help out a friend. So it gave her a lot more vulnerability, and again, then also means that she's willing to work with Batman a lot more because she knows that she can't do all this by herself. She's not as independent in this one because she doesn't have the means to because she's poor. She doesn't have any access to the resources that Batman or Bruce Wayne does. So I did like that portrayal a lot in this movie. Although what I would say is that the relationship between Batman and Catwoman I thought was quite rushed in respect.
I agree with that one.
I was literally about to say.
I didn't really feel the chemistry right away because there's so many bits where they're staring into each other's eyes and all this kind of stuff. Like, why is this happening?
It's weird. It's like, it's weird.
And
you just met this guy.
I think what makes it weird is that those scenes in isolation, there was nothing wrong with them. They were actually quite powerful, intense scenes. They were good and well shot, but they just came out of nowhere, and then they went away as they came. It was just okay. Now let's move on. Like, I definitely got that sense.
One of the problems with that is that we don't really have much a sense of the timescale between when they're meeting up. So for all we know, this could have been the next day, or it could have been 2 weeks later. We don't really get a timescale. How long have they known each other?
I think the times when they screen were the only times they actually interacted. I don't think it's meant to be any interaction between each other in the times when they weren't interacting on screen. I think that was kind of
I think this is supposed to happen within like a few days because this whole Riddler case and everything, it's happening like one day after the other, I think. So it is quite small. So that makes less sense that therefore it comes so quickly. So
I'm just gonna say I didn't really like the story in terms of like the detective story. I do appreciate that they're actually making more of an effort to focus on the whole detective aspect of Batman, but the fact, like, the whole point, like, what makes a detective story actually what makes it work is the mystery, the fact that it keeps you guessing, like you're wondering, who the killer is, or like who's next, this, that, and the other. But you don't really get that sense of, I want to see where this is going. At least I didn't. So I felt like, even though it did a good job introducing more of a detective aspect to this Batman, didn't really do a great detective story, however.
I mean, for me, I think as far as the development goes, it felt less like Batman was detecting stuff as opposed to he was just being led by the Riddler, like, throughout the whole movie.
He was being led
and I'm not sure if that's meant to be like they're trying to show his, like, naivety and inexperience from being young, or if it's just really just showing actually the Riddler is actually just that much of a devious, intelligent guy. But obviously Batman was the only character who was able to, on some level, understand and keep up with the Riddler. So yeah, that's kind of what I got.
Yeah, I think giving the movie the benefit of the doubt, I probably think it's what you said, the second option, where this is an inexperienced Batman, which is why it probably looks like he's being far more led and more reactive than probably you would expect a more senior Batman to be. What is people's opinions on the Riddler? Since that's the only character we've not talked about.
Well, as I said before, it's like, a good detective story or good mystery would keep you guessing as to who the killer is, or at least what the killer's motivation is. I mean, with the Riddler, you have the backstory from the comics, so you know what he's all about already. So you're not really wondering, why is he killing people? You just know the Riddler. You know why he does what he does already. And the kind of reveal at the end, it doesn't really help as well. It doesn't really make him any more understandable or any more detestable or likable. I just felt like this was kind of a wannabe Heath Ledger. And I mean, Paul Dano was he did give a good performance, but I just don't think the writing was solid. I don't think it was strong writing, but I could be wrong. I don't know about if you guys felt the same way.
So for me,
it was strange.
So for me, I agree and disagree with Peter in a way. I would have preferred a proper mystery, like you said, to kind of who did it, or like how he uses his deduction skills to find out what's happened next, all this kind of stuff. But at the same time, there are stories where you already know who's done it, but the suspense comes in from how the protagonist is gonna catch the antagonist. So I think they did that part well. And as for Paul Dano's performance, I think he was a bit too over the top for my liking. A bit too, like you said, like a big kind of Heath Ledger kind of thing. While I didn't hate his performance, and I did enjoy what he needed to be for that character. There were just bits where he just felt too much like a jigsaw killer or whatever. It just just slightly.
I think the problem with this Riddler is because this is more of a dark and gritty version of Batman and the world. Where we've seen him in the comics and other versions, he's more of it's a stage show. He likes to perform, and you didn't get that from this Riddler. He was more.
I agree.
Well, I'm gonna kill this guy. Try and find me.
I did find it. I found it weird that I felt that kind of detracted from the character in a sense, because you rarely want to see the face behind that mask, see the character, see the expressions. Getting only the voice from the character doesn't really give you much. And when he gets revealed at the end, I think the only good thing about them keeping the mask on is that at the end he just looks like some any guy. And I'm not sure. I know he literally just looks like some any guy, bro. If you're banging out like Fortnite or something. But
that's the thing I've really loved about it though.
Yeah.
Because it could be anyone in this world that we live in. Anyone could be that crazy.
He did make me laugh. The scene. Wait. I just want to say he made me laugh. Like, the scene where he's got the bomb attached to that guy's like was it a chest or something? and the guy's like begging for his life, and he's like, "Shut up! You deserve to die! Shut up!" That had me cracking up, man, in the cinema. I was like, "Wow, this guy's getting emotional."
Wow. Yeah.
And also, because obviously originally when he was killing people, it had to do with this whole corruption of Gotham and stuff, which kind of threw me with his end game, which was to flood the entire city and then start shooting people within who are running to safety. I didn't get like what was the like. It seemed like up until that point, his killings had a purpose, and then it just seemed like he was just wanting to be a textbook villain, just having his minions kill anyone.
Well, it just felt like an obligatory, what do you call it? You know,
apocalyptic.
Yeah, exactly. Climactic, like third act.
It seems very out of character of what he had done up until that point.
Yeah, this is it. This is the problem I had.
And precise, and now he's just blown up. He's just flooded the city, and then gets his minions to start shooting people who, because his whole point was that he was upset with the corrupt elite and how that they abused their power, including Thomas Wayne and all of that, and the Falcone and all that, and so it just seemed like it was a bit of a on the wall. I didn't understand. And is it just to say that he's crazy, or like it seemed like at that point was so thought out and methodical and planned out to T, and then it was like, now I'm just gonna flood the city and kill loads of people, regardless of who they are or what their association to the mob or the it is.
Yeah, that's the thing, because like I watched this film twice and I still can figure out why it just suddenly went from like 30 to like 100 or whatever. Like I think it's because they just wanted the big bang for the third act.
That's it.
Just because I think maybe they thought people would be kind of bored maybe throughout the, like.
It's a very long movie.
Yeah. So I thought they thought, okay, let's go out with a bang and do something crazy. I'm guessing maybe that's what they're.
But also as well, Batman does not save the day in this film. If it just ended with the Riddler behind bars, it would have just, that it would have been fine. It would have been one way of ending it, but I think they really wanted to stick to the fact and remind you this is up and coming Batman. He's not at the point where he's actually saving the day now. He's just managing to keep up with the criminals.
Yeah, that's it, man. I mean, I think overall, this film, it had enjoyable moments, like the characters like Alfred. I felt he was good, even though his screen time was brief. The story just I didn't really feel much. I don't know if you guys know what I mean, but there was this there were like brief moments of like tension. There was a bit I wanted to bring up where Alfred's the phone's ringing in the Wayne mansion, and Alfred's about to pick up the phone. Obviously Bruce is trying to get there, and you're thinking, oh, is he gonna pick it up? Is he gonna get there in time? Is he gonna stop him from actually answering the phone and stopping the bomb going off? And then you realize it's already happened, so it kind of takes that tension out of it, and you're like, oh, okay, that was kind of pointless then. What was the point of
I thought that was good.
No, but it was pointless because it already happened. So regardless of whether you got there or not, it wouldn't have made a difference.
I know what you mean. I've done.
Ruben, your mic keeps cutting in and out.
Sorry. Can you hear me?
Now you can.
Yeah. Just say that again, please. Say that again.
Oh yeah, sorry. No, I was just saying. I've seen that done before in other movies and like TV shows. I thought it was quite good because again, it's just showing you that he can't be everywhere at once, and actually, he's not the guy who is just he's a second away from saving the day. He's actually just a regular human being who sometimes can be hours behind from catching the bad guy out. So I get what you mean. It kind of built tension, and then it turned into nothing. But I think on the flip side, it just showed you the character that he's human. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He can't be the guy who saves the day all the time.
Well, it does beg the question though, because if he was an hour late, how come no one phoned him?
Who? Bruce Wayne?
Someone was trying to him. The lady was trying to phone him. The lady was trying to phone him.
She did call him eventually, but.
So I think.
No, I thought he called her.
Yeah, he was calling the house. That's the signature of Alfred.
Up.
She picks up.
She said, "I've been trying to get hold of you."
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So he was just probably just his phone was on silent. I'm busy the day, bro.
Can I ask quick, because I don't think we mentioned it. What did everyone think of Robert Pattinson as Batman? How did everyone feel about
I think
his
we did go over this. I think we went over this.
Oh, we didn't. We didn't.
Did we not? Oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right. Well, I'll let you guys share.
I think that's a good thing. No, go on.
No, you guys go.
So as Batman, obviously, I'm just focusing on Batman because that's all we've seen. We haven't really seen the Bruce Wayne character. So as Batman, I think he did a fantastic job because a lot of his performance was less about his lines and more about his expression and everything he portrayed with his eyes. I just thought that was just so beautifully done. Like when he's looking at the kid, or when he's looking around in the at the actual investigation scenes, like whether he's being like, whether he's portraying despair in his eyes or whether he's, showing anger. He just does it so beautifully with his eyes. I was talking about his eyes too much, but you know what I mean. Like,
man.
Maybe
You got lost in them. I mean, you're gonna hate me, Subi, because I kind of feel the opposite. I mean, I'm not saying he was a bad Batman, but I just didn't really care for him. I feel like you can't just put on the suit and then get my respect. Like whether it's Michael Keaton, whether it's I'm forgetting Christian Bale, George Clooney. I mean, even George Clooney, you have to earn your stripes as Batman. Like you gotta show me that you're worthy of, the cape and cowl, and the mask and the everything else. And I feel like he was.
What made you think he wasn't? He didn't.
Well, to be honest, it's not all his fault. I think for one thing, the whole voiceover, that's just a bad sign to me. Like that's a sign of kind of lazy writing, and it doesn't really give the character enough pathos and just enough backstory for us to really care about this character. He's just introduced, and they expect you to just root for Batman, like not knowing what his past is like. I feel like even though we all know Batman, like he is kind of universally known, you still have to get to know this particular Batman. Like you still have to feel something for him, and some people can do it, but I personally can't. I need to like get to know this Bruce Wayne, get to know this particular Batman. So I don't know if you guys. I mean, obviously it's down to you. I throw it to one of you guys, isn't it?
I see exactly where you're coming from. I didn't hate this Batman. I thought he was done a reasonable job. I think more to the point is that we don't really know this.
Exactly.
And the problem is that we've done this because there's so many Batman. Like we can say, we know the Batman. There's so many different versions, man, and because they skipped the origin stories, one of the points is that we don't really see that journey. We don't really know who this Batman is yet, and we definitely don't know who this Bruce Wayne is. And the parts of Bruce Wayne we did see, he came across as a prick, basically, and because we didn't have that backstory to understand how he got to that, just left with that. But I do take everything you tell when he in the Batman suit. I thought like when he was towering over people, and like you're saying about his his eyes in terms of the intense emotion that he can convey. But overall, I think it was an okay job as the Batman. But I don't think that was Robert Pattinson's fault. I think it's because we just didn't get enough in the 3 hours. We didn't really get to know this Batman. I don't think a lot. Although I did appreciate the journey he went on, where he thought he was vengeance and then he became hope. That I do understand that. But yeah, I don't think there was enough of that to build that kind of connection. Whereas in the Dark Knight trilogy, but basically that whole first movie is about getting to know Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne and Batman and understanding that, where chance to build that origin and how he got from where he was to being the Batman.
Yeah, exactly. You see that journey, but you don't see that with Robert Pattinson. You don't see the journey of how he became, even if it's like a quick montage. That's all I ask for. But yeah.
Yeah,
I personally think that I didn't want a montage like that. That's just me, because like I just like it that it just went straight into year 2, you know.
Yeah.
I don't want to say too much because I'm picking up Ruben. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was going to say I agree. Definitely, any more screen time put in with like a backstory which we already know about. I understand obviously we do need to know more about Batman, but I think the character development for this character started at the beginning of the movie and it went up to the end of the movie. So I don't think I needed to see much more about him. I think he's done a great job at portraying the character that was written. He's done a great job at coming across as a really stoic Bruce Wayne, a really stoic Batman, and not, you know, he played the same character whether he was in disguise or not. He was the same stoic person throughout the film. I thought that was fantastically done, and the little bits of emotion which you do see shines through, like for example the scene where he's in the hospital with like Alfred and he's saying like, Alfred, you lied to me about my parents, that kind of stuff. Or the scene where I think it's like, is it Maroney or whatever the guy's name is? Is it Falcone? Falcone, about his you know, his dad, that kind of stuff. There were little bits of emotion which you see Patterson was able to put through, which I think was really well done. And in contrast, the fact that he was able to kind of just keep such a portrayal of a stoic character throughout, I thought that was really good. It wasn't inconsistent. I quite liked him, and I went in with low expectations as well. Because, you know, my man's here for Twilight. You know, I just see him as the Twilight guy. You know?
Bro, you need to get over that. You need to get over that Twilight shit. He's done so much since then. He's done so much, bro.
I'm giving him credit. I'm giving him credit, innit? Okay. I thought he'd done a great job. Is what I'm saying, innit? You know what I mean? Like, way better. Like, he struck me a lot harder than Ben Affleck as Batman, for example. I a lot more enjoyed his character of Batman than Ben Affleck's version. So yeah, I quite liked him.
I think sorry Cam, to cut you off. I know you're about to go, but really quickly, did you guys bring up the whole I don't need to see the origin story anymore? Like, okay, I get that, but there's a reason why they put the origin story it's so that you put yourself in his shoes. It's like, that's like me saying, I don't need to eat any more pizza. Like, I've had enough pizza. I can eat as much pizza as I want to. It's just how you make it. It's how they pull it together, how they portray this origin story. But as long as you made me feel something, you made me feel sorry for the guy in this particular version of Batman. But I don't feel that sense of pathos. Do you know what I mean? I don't feel that pain. I don't feel his pain. If I don't feel your pain, then I don't really care about you. And
I think it's just different experiences, because I 100% felt it when he looked at the mayor's son. The way, but
that was a brief. That was like a quick, like, you can blink and you miss it.
I don't know. Maybe you watched it as long as
it lasted a long time.
Oh yeah, I forgot the eyes in it. You were into the eyes in it. You got drawn in. He was hypnotizing you, man.
Movie, man. But, no, honestly, man, I don't know.
Yo, Cam. Break the tie break.
Yeah, sorry. Go for it. Sorry, you gotta jump in there, man. You gotta jump in there.
He's not the best Batman. He's not the worst man. He was an okay Batman. I still don't know who he is as Batman either. He's a violent and moody person who tried to solve a crime, which he kind of failed at as well. So at the end of the movie, he was basically a failure who tried to just help people out.
Oh, that's harsh. That was harsh.
Yo, that was savage. I'm not gonna lie, bro. Oh, dude. I thought I was bad.
He comes in with the 2x4.
Oh, stop. Oh, my
God.
days.
The last thing didn't have anything to do with Robert Pattinson. We're talking about his performance.
Oh, man.
He wasn't the worst Batman. I'm interested to see where he goes on. Like, if they make a sequel, I'll watch it, and if he can flesh out his character as Batman and Bruce Wayne, maybe I'd enjoy him more. But for me, he was just average.
Do you know what, Subi? And I'm gonna talk to Subi because I feel like me and Subi are kind of on the same page. It's almost like just leaving it, but let's go away, bro. But yeah, it's almost like for me, I didn't need to see too much of the character's backstory, because I just got the impression that what they were trying to do was say, from the moment his parents died, he has been the exact same person from when he was a boy up until this point in the movie. Like, anything that happened between then, for me anyway, is almost irrelevant. He never moved past that point from when his parents died. and he has been that stoic person ever since. And it is only when the movie starts where his actual character development begins. I'm not sure what I could have seen on screen about his character before then. I mean, I don't know if you want me to see him getting bullied in private school or something, or I don't know, walk through the city or at his parents' funeral pyre or something like that maybe. But yeah, I'm not sure there's much they could have done to make me feel more for the character. But that's just me. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 100% agreed with Ruben. Just because I think that's just how we are. I think because I'm not saying that. I mean, I totally respect your opinions. I can definitely see why you'd want it the way you do. It makes perfect sense. But yeah, I think for me and Ruben, it's just different that we can just.
I think you could cut out at least half an hour of this movie and replace it with more of that origin backstory quite easily, because I think this movie was too damn long.
I don't remember a lot of the movie, if I'm being honest. A lot of it I don't remember.
Subi, I don't want to upset you, Subi, but like, there's a lot of scenes where he's just staring, and we don't need all that.
Yeah.
I needed that. I love it when we stare.
Can I ask, was there any point in the movie where anyone started to feel like, oh, this is dragging out a bit?
Oh, yes. Absolutely. I kept looking at my clock.
For me, it happened. During the car chase scene.
I was going to ask a question about that.
Yeah, he's chasing Penguin, right? At some point during that scene, I like blacked out for like 10 seconds. You know when you get lost in thought? I blacked out for 10 seconds and I came back and I was like, crap, I'm missing an action sequence.
Yeah, because you're bored.
I think at that point for me, I started to feel like, okay, this is a bit long now, huh?
Yeah.
I was looking at my watch when Falcone got taken out by the Riddler. I was like, there's still like half an hour left in this movie. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I mean, part of that was I didn't need to go to the toilet. Go, for God's sake. But I think this movie was going on.
Yeah.
Cameron mentioned about the ongoing stares at each other. Like, you could cut that in half. There was like, you could probably take out one of the murders because we don't just like
Dude,
you just see like the amount of time they spent with the guy with the bomb on his neck and that. It was. But my question for everyone is, your thoughts on the Batmobile? God.
I thought it was pretty cool. It seemed to defy physics a little bit though, with the whole coming out of the flames, because I don't remember it going on a vertical ramp, or did it? I don't know, but it just seemed to like.
It did.
Oh, was it?
It was completely convenient.
Okay, yeah, it's very convenient. It just happened to be in the right place at the right time.
Alright, I have a question for you. Do you not feel like his car reminded you of a certain Fast and Furious character's car?
Oh, Dom's?
Yeah.
The what's it called again? The that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the only difference is he had a giant alien-looking engine on the back that blew out fire.
You know when he was revving the engine? At one point, I thought like he's.
Everyone thought he stalled. I
was like, did he stall, bro?
Oh man.
Thing is, I reckon that they did, and that wasn't part of the scene, and I just left it in there.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's the only thing I've heard about it, because I loved the introduction of the Batmobile, that sound it made and the fear in Penguin's eye, and I was like, whoa, this is cool. And then that stall bit happened, and that was weird. But as the car chase, though, it was quite a cool car chase. Even though it was convenient, I think it was fun.
Okay, so we said about the car, and it was a very basic car with the fancy engine.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be the first iteration of the Batmobile. So
it looks very kind of it looks kind of what do you call it, like amateurish, it's put together, but it still looks cool. But I wanted to move on to the theme, because the theme is just incredible. Like, it just, the way it builds that atmosphere, the way it kind of grows and grows and grows. It's just, you could put it on anything and it will just make that scene more intense. It will just make that moment feel more intense. So especially when the Batman's on screen, you hear that music, you just feel the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, because you're just like, this is really hitting it, man. This is really hitting it. So I don't know especially if you went to see this in the cinema with a good sound system, I envy you right now.
Yeah, the tone was definitely, especially as much as I criticize it, the footsteps did make him seem more menacing, and I did love it. You hear the footsteps, you're like, shit, something's about to go down.
Yeah, for the first 2 hours of this movie, I was fully immersed. It was then when I was like, this is still going. Jesus, please, will this end? And I was just like, so yeah, I thought that for the first like 2, they done a great job of that. But yeah, I think start to overstay its welcome.
They did, yeah.
Like you gotta remember, this is the longest Batman. Like it's longer than all of the Christopher Nolan ones, and I don't think it earned that. I think it wasn't good enough to earn a 2 hour and 56-minute runtime.
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, it wasn't. They needed to cut at least half an hour of this movie, I think.
I think you have to be like biased with Batman, like I am, because I'm heavily biased on Batman. So I enjoyed every minute because it flew by for me. But yeah, I can understand why it'd be way too much. Yeah. There are certain bits I would cut out though, because like that whole Joker scene was just not needed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like,
it was like studio mandatory or something. It was like it was mandatory from the studio, like a mandate.
You need that obligatory sequel bait.
Yeah.
Just in case this sequel bait in there.
The one thing I can mention is I read up on that, and apparently put that in because he just wanted to establish that the villains already exist and that he's already had a run-in with the Joker, but he has no plans to actually put the Joker in his. He just wanted to just kind of establish that he's already in there. So I guess that's a bit better, but at the same time, I don't know.
He didn't strike me as a Batman that couldn't beat the Joker.
This was obviously an inexperienced Joker as well, so I don't know.
Just sorry, I know we're probably crunching for time. We need to get to the conclusion soon, but I just wanted to ask, like, what did you think about the soundtrack? I suppose, yeah, like, do you think? Because for me, the soundtrack was quite just like the character. For me, it was quite a new spin on like a soundtrack to have in a Batman movie. Some parts were quite good and dark, and the sound, that the soundtrack reflected the atmosphere. And then in contrast, you had some, I can't remember what song it was, but there was a reoccurring like song with like vocals which came on.
The Nirvana one.
Yeah, was it that? Okay, yeah. Which
it reminded me of that like 90s grunge.
Yeah.
Scene.
I thought it was quite cool. I thought it was a good fit to especially Robert Pattinson portrayal of Batman. I thought it quite suited it. But yeah, I don't know if you guys agree or disagree.
Yeah, similar to Kingsman, I didn't really notice the soundtrack that much.
Seriously?
Again,
I thought that soundtrack was powerful, man.
I'm going to call back to the Dark Knight trilogy because I love the soundtrack in that one. And I think that's probably part of the problem. I keep comparing it to what I think is so that's probably unfair and
when you've got Hans Zimmer doing your soundtrack, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. The GOAT.
I think it's not that the soundtrack.
But so you telling me, Law, you didn't feel nothing when like Batman was on screen and you hear like
I didn't feel anything. I think like I said, it did emerge. I just keep thinking because I'm even playing the sound part of the Dark Knight now, just thinking about it because it still stays in the room. This, I think, I'm probably not going to watch this movie again, and I'm probably not going to hear this soundtrack again, and I don't think I would miss it. But like I said, I don't think it was bad enough. Something that blew me away.
Yeah, if there's one thing I can mention real quick is that regarding the soundtrack is it reminded me quite a lot about the Batman animated series. Just the way it's done and the way it uses certain instruments. I don't know what they're called, but there's some points where they use like bells, like it's just hard to explain. But the way they orchestrated that thing, it just took me back to Batman animated series. That's why I really loved it.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
And I think it might be partly my bias as well because probably towards the end I was just wanting this. Just remember how you feel at the time, and you're not thinking about anything else. Then so that might be partly why I'm so like not. I have little thoughts on the soundtrack.
Last thing. I'll be real quick. What did you guys think about the direction it took when it makes it seem like the Riddler had figured out Batman's identity?
Oh, that.
How did you guys feel about
that? I mean, I initially liked it, and then obviously when he had no idea he was Batman, I was just like, oh, okay. I was like, oh. I feel like, well, this is a waste of time, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a bit of a red herring. It's like, do you know? Do you not know?
Yeah.
I thought it was
I guess
great.
it was good that Batman didn't react, but that could have been done with
Well,
silence and shock rather than him being intelligent and just making sure that. So
I thought it was great because I just thought it was great because it's like when Bruce Wayne starts to put the clues together about what he thinks the Riddler knows. It's like you just see the light go out in his eyes, and he's just like, yeah, I'm done. It's like Jim, you're a good cop. Like, you know what I mean? Peace out, I'm done. Yeah. And then he goes into the prison room, and he's just like staring down Riddler like, crap, like, I'm done. And then it obviously transpires that the Riddler has no idea who he is. But even the Riddler's character, I think like the script writing and the dialogue, it's done a good job at drawing that out, because you're thinking for the whole time that he knows who he is, and then just at the end you realize he doesn't. When he starts going, Bruce Wayne, I was like, we have to go over the top, but
well, that's what I mean. That's the whole acting started kicking in. I was like, well, he actually talk like that, and just
like Bruce Wayne. And then I think it actually shows the cameras as well. Like, it takes a shot of the camera and the red light and things, so you're even more thinking like, man, it's on camera. How's he gonna get out of this? And then it turns out he doesn't know who he is. So I quite like the suspense they put in there. That's just cool.
All right, so I think ready to wrap it up. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, just quick summary of my thoughts and feelings. I mean, I'd consider myself a bit of a Batman fan. You know, I like the previous Batman movies. Even Ben Affleck's movies were pretty enjoyable to me. So I had a bit of high expectations, I'm not gonna lie, going into this one, and sadly it didn't live up to them. Actually, I didn't really care for Batman in this movie, and I didn't really care for any of the actual other characters or the story. From a visual standpoint, and like the score blew me away. I was really impressed, but I thought it was more style over substance. It just didn't really keep me interested, and it just went on for far too long. Just outstood its welcome. So sorry Ruben, sorry Subi, I know you love this movie, but yeah, I wish I could be there with you. I'm just not. I wouldn't watch this again. Cool. Yeah, maybe I'd watch it in parts, because so like the bat chase was pretty cool, like from a stylistic point of view, as I said. But yeah, once again, you guys were saying, oh, this isn't the worst Batman movie. This might be the worst Batman, in my opinion. But yeah.
Whoa.
Because I'm trying to think like, what is the worst? Even George Clooney? George Clooney was entertaining, but Robert Pattinson, he's just sulky. He's just like an emo who he hardly says anything. I'm trying I'm trying to think like who is a worse Batman than this, and I'm like, I can't really think of, like, the costume was cheap.
I think Clooney was, in my opinion. As a movie, as a Batman. Oh, sorry. I'll just say one word. Clooney. I think he was the worst. There you go.
Sorry, Pete, what's your rating? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So my rating is 3 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah. I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to leave. I was like watching my I was like kept looking at my watch most of the way through. I was like, this is not keeping me interested. Like, I don't feel anything.
I don't want to like say you're wrong or anything, but just for some context, you gave Matrix Resurrections
a what?
You gave Matrix Resurrections a 3 out of 10.
Yeah, because with Matrix Resurrections, I felt something for it. Like, I felt disgust for it, but this I felt nothing. So if I feel, at least I felt something for that, but I felt nothing for this movie. Like, it just didn't keep me interested at all. The action sequences.
Peter's clearly got other things.
And plus, like, with the Matrix movies, the previous ones were terrible, so I wasn't really that surprised. But with this one, obviously you got Matt Reeves. He did the Planet of the Apes trilogy, so my expectations were a lot higher, which is why I was a lot more disappointed when I watched this one.
Even with all the good things that you're saying about the soundtrack and
but again, it's again, it's all visual. It's all visuals, man. It's all visuals. Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, that's it. Yeah, if I can't feel nothing for your movie, then I'm sorry. It's a wrap for me, man. I can't get on board, man.
Balance is out, sons. Balance is out.
So yeah, sorry. So it's a solid 3 out of 10 for me. Sorry, guys. I've had a bit of time to think about it, and yeah.
Okay, so as you guys know, like I said, I'm quite biased with Batman, and I actually went in with high expectations as well, because I love Matt Reeves' movies. So, like, the way it's shot and stuff, as like I like to consider myself a photographer, so like the way everything's been shot and compositioned, I just could not just look away, like how good everything was just kind of put together. There's certain scenes, like even right at the beginning, where it shows the mayor and they took the choice to put it through like a skylight, and from the little crack of the window you can see him standing on the phone. Little choices like that I just thought was just like a work of art for me. So throughout the film they just made so many beautiful choices on shots and angles that really helped with the storytelling for me, and coupled with the soundtrack and everything was just like, you know, for me it was perfection. I'm not saying it's a perfect movie, I'm just saying just visually and with the soundtrack it was. And story-wise, yeah, I definitely saw your point about I would have preferred like a proper mystery and all that kind of stuff. So stuff like that did kind of bring it down a tiny bit. But yeah, overall, I think performances I loved. Soundtrack I loved. Visually, obviously, I already said I loved. I loved that they've truly understood Batman for me. Like the fact that he's, you know, everything they did at the beginning, that he's supposed to be the shadows, the fear and everything they did well. And it's year 2 Batman inexperienced. This was a journey to become hope. So putting all that together, and I don't want to go on for too long, I'd give it a 8.5 out of 10.
Damn. Okay.
Ruben.
No. I'm gonna go after whoever's next to balance the scales again in case one of you
Don't be influenced now.
For me, it was a tricky one. I'd probably give it 6.5 to a 7, mainly because I enjoyed the movie. It was great action scenes. I give that 6.5, sure.
I need it for the records.
This is because it had great fight scenes, cinematography was great, just the atmosphere of Gotham was awesome. But I went to see a Batman movie, not Superman, who couldn't fly or use any other powers. He just felt a bit too indestructible for me. And then there's a bit of inconsistency with the gadgets. He had high-tech contact lenses and then nothing else. So for me, it would have been a 7, but the bulletproofness, that dodgy suit, 6.5 for me. Man.
Fair. Oh boy,
balance of scale.
I'm not gonna take long because I think stuff which I was thinking anyway. But yeah, just to kind of draw the parallel. Yeah, I really did like the cinematography. I thought the shots were quite amazing, and coupled with the soundtrack as well. I thought it just looked really beautiful on screen, especially with like the lighting. I didn't think I'd be a fan of it, but particularly as well, like the shots that he had with Catwoman as well. I thought those were really well shot, like with the lighting and the backdrop. So that really struck like a heartstring for me. Even though those moments were quite fleeting. The choreography and the fight scenes were cool, the costume was cool, and Robert Pattinson, I went in with low expectations for him, but he surpassed those. So I think that affects my score quite a lot and that boosts it up. And I think the biggest thing for me is that this version of Batman is so unique on screen. I have not seen this version of him on screen before, and it's always good to see something new. I get really tired of seeing remakes and reboots where you're seeing like the same stuff and same like typical tropes like done over and over again. So the fact that this was a younger, quite unique Batman / Bruce Wayne, I think made all the difference to me. So I'm not exactly where Subi is, but I'll give it a solid 8. Like easily. I probably wouldn't watch it again just because of how long it was. I was thinking it would have made a nice short series where maybe they could have fleshed out a few things a bit more.
They're making a series. They're making a series.
Yeah. Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Penguin, based on Penguin.
Oh no, I meant a series of instead of this movie is what I meant. And I thought that would have been quite good because then I could rewatch that. But yeah, as a movie, I'll give it a solid 8. I enjoyed it.
Okay, me to round things up. So, unlike quite a few people here, I had very low expectations of this movie. I was not expecting anything, to be honest. I didn't even watch. I was offended Batman out. I really hated the fact that... So, with that backdrop, mine probably inflates my rating a bit. Whereas, on the opposite for Pete, he had high expectations and was disappointed. I had very low expectations and wasn't disappointed, so I guess that's probably why my rating's going to inflate. One thing to that we didn't much about that this movie did better than I think the Nolan trilogy was the action scenes. Because of the nature of they couldn't really shoot the action scenes very well, so they were all, and his movements were always very... I think they did address that here. I think the action set pieces and the they really captured his viciousness in hand-to-hand combat and how he handled that. So I just wanted to mention that as well. For me, putting all of the pros that Subs and Ruben mentioned, and all of the cons that Cameron and Pete mentioned, which wholeheartedly. No, because I agree with them, yeah. But to balance out the fact that I wasn't expecting the length of the movie being way too long, and also the instructional suit and all that I mentioned, Cameron mentioned. Overall, I would give this movie... I'll go slightly how. I'll say overall, I think it balances to a good movie, a long, good movie, but I will give it a good movie. So I would just round it out and say it was a 7 out of 10 for me. I think it's... but yeah, I wouldn't rewatch it just mainly because of the length. If it was a shorter movie, I could be... maybe it's one of those movies, so I'd watch like maybe certain parts of the movie again, but I wouldn't watch a whole run through again. I don't know how you did it, but I guess you loved it, so it's essentially up to you. But yeah, so that is my review, guys.
I think you guys need to ask yourselves, if this wasn't Batman and this was some unknown superhero, would you still be rating it as highly as you've rated it, or would you still have the same fondness? Or are you bringing in that kind of...
Specifically because it's Batman for me.
Yeah, that's what... See, I'm trying to be unbiased. I'm trying to be unbiased, to be honest, but I guess...
Well, it's because I know the character. So again, like, if it was just some random character, all of that stuff which you know about Batman, you couldn't have that in your head. Like, you would have to take the character as he appears on screen and not know anything about his past. But we've got so much lore about Batman already, it's really easy to go in with some idea of the character, and I think that kind of it lets you start past the start line in a sense.
But I think that kind don't you think that kind of attitude makes like the studios a bit more lazy with the like I'm just gonna give my money to any studio that makes any old Batman movie, regardless of how much effort they put into it. They're just gonna like be like, oh, you know, we're gonna make money on this movie regardless of how much effort we put into it. So why put in any effort at all?
I disagree. I think it's a lot more lazy. I think it's very daring to take a new spin on a character rather than just regurgitating old stuff which has been done in the past. So yeah.
But is this really a new spin though?
Is it
really a new spin? Because it feels very Christian Bale.
I thought it was a new spin. No, I thought it was a new spin on. For me, I thought it was.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah, and also I think sometimes I think even subconsciously, I think it's hard to divorce that sort of try to go into a movie completely unbiased. I think we would all be more if it wasn't about the character.
Sorry.
I'm sure if it wasn't
Spider-Man... Sorry, Law, your mic has been...
We could have been...
Your mic has been cutting off. I don't know if anybody else can hear it, or is it just me?
Yeah, it's been me as
cutting
well.
off quite a lot, but I wasn't sure if it was for you as well.
Yeah, it's just been cutting off.
Okay.
I don't know if that's like something you could do anything about, but it's just been cutting off from time to time. Anyway.
But yeah, I was just saying that in terms of like, if some of these movies, like the MCU movies, if they weren't about characters that we all love, might be more distant towards them and more colder towards them. But whereas we give movies that I think that are characters that we love the benefit of doubt a lot more than we do, and I think that I don't think we generally try to divorce that. Even if we try, I don't always succeed in doing that. So I think it's just better to go in with that and say that, well, yeah, I mean, these characters are characters we love, and if that affects how we look at it. Just acknowledge that, but I don't think it's actually a problem in terms of reviewing it.
You bring up a good point there, Law. Just wanted to touch on one thing, because you mentioned with the MCU, and yeah, the MCU, they kind of do this already, because you've got films like, let's say, I don't know, like Captain America, Winter Soldier, or Iron Man 2 or Iron Man 3. They're not origin stories. They don't tell you how he became Iron Man. It's just a story, but you still come in with the feelings of Iron Man, because it's the same actor, it's the same character. You've already watched a movie that has given you his backstory, but with this one, it's a new actor. It's a new version of Batman in a different part of his life. So you don't have any baggage, or you don't have anything coming into that.
How did you feel about Spider-Man Homecoming? Because you didn't get an origin story for that.
Homecoming?
Yeah, the first Spider-Man movie, there wasn't really an origin story.
Yeah, I guess so, but he was introduced in Civil War, so you kind of felt...
Again, not an origin story.
Yeah, to be fair, I'd say that's a testament to Tom Holland, because he's just a really likable character. He's a really likable person in general. And yeah, even though obviously Spider-Man is, really popular, I feel like Tom Holland kind of carries that as well, for the most part. But Robert Pattinson doesn't really have the same characteristics, where he's just very charming, he's very likable. I don't get that.
And I think the nature of the way the story was written in Homecoming, and for the fact that he was introduced in Civil War, I think that the way it was written done a lot of the heavy lifting in regards to not requiring the origin story. We don't need to see. We know he gets bitten by a radio.
Just to contrast,
where I'm going with this is that your basis of that past knowledge. I'm saying, we know Spider-Man. They had Spider-Man done before, so.
But the difference is that the origin that we're talking about, the Spider-Man was introduced. He'd only been Spider-Man for 6 months, so this is still very much an origin story. When we're talking about Robert Pattinson's, his childhood is part of that origin, because his parents, the traumatic incident happened to him.
I would agree to that. I'll agree to that.
And then he didn't become Batman until he was an adult, and there must have been other milestones in between that time that contributes that, and that's where there's a big difference. Whereas Spider-Man, he got bitten 6 months ago, so I don't think you need to see what happened in those first 6, because I think the first Homecoming and Civil War is still a part of that origin building up the actual true Spider-Man. So I think that's where it's different. It's the time level. 6 months for Spider-Man, whereas like nearly a decade and a half, 2 decades for Batman that we're missing.
So that was it. I hope you enjoyed the discussion. Thank you as always for tuning in, and please, we'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on either the video or the movie itself. So leave some comments down below, and we'd love to go through them and read what you guys think. And we'll see you guys next week for the next one. Take it easy.